Hey guys, and welcome to the Nouveau Riche Podcast. So today is the reason why I started the podcast, to talk to people like this. John Malott, generated hundreds of millions of dollars, chairman of Build Your Empire, blowing up on Instagram right now. Introduce yourself, man. Give me, who is John Malott?
Oh, who is John Malott? That's a question I ask myself every day. You know, who am I? Every day I'm evolving. I'll tell you that my story, I guess, it goes back quite a ways. I don't have all the things that society says you're supposed to have to be successful. I don't have a college degree. I don't have a high school diploma. Mm-hmm. I'm someone who's been through a lot of challenges, a lot of struggles, and you know how society has a way of putting people in boxes, color, skin, age, gender, all kinds of different things, color, skin. I found myself as a high school dropout. I found myself working over at the General Electric plant as a janitor. I was a custodial engineer. I'm sweeping another man's floors. I'm scrubbing another man's toilets. And I was working paycheck to paycheck. I was struggling to make, ends meet. And, I was fortunate. I had some world-class entrepreneurs that came into my life, and they started to teach me the principles of entrepreneurship and the fundamentals of leadership. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen right away, but over an extended period of time, I applied those principles, and I've been fortunate. I've had a pretty good run. We've had some big home runs and some companies that have done extremely well. So it's been an interesting journey. It's been fun though. I'm an entrepreneur to the heart. I live, eat, and breathe
awesome.
Entrepreneurship.
I love to hear that. So going back to the start, you told me you were a dropout. How did that take place? For the people who there are a lot of people in that position at the moment, so it's good to see someone actually succeeding from that position. So tell me, how did you got in that dropout situation?
I was just way off track when I was young. I was my first felony arrest. I was 15 years old. Mm. I found myself locked in juvenile detention facilities, through my teenage years. And at 17, I had a heart attack from smoking crack cocaine. Way off track, man. I was a mess. Nobody wanted to talk to me back then. I didn't want to talk to myself. I was fed up with life, and I had destroyed most of the relationships around me, the people around me. I remember leaving a facility, and all I owned at that point were the shoes on my feet, the jeans I was wearing, and the sweatshirt that I walked out of that facility with. All the relationships I had around me were destroyed, and I didn't have anything, and I had to really claw my way out. But actually, what happened in a drug rehabilitation facility is a man gave me a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that book planted a seed that started to grow, and that seed was personal development. So even though I didn't graduate from high school, and I dropped out of high school when I was in the 10th grade, and I didn't do a lot of these things that people are telling you you're supposed to do, like go to school, get a good education so you can get a good job. Well, we know these jobs are not so good anyways.
All right.
So that's why a lot of people today are struggling with the whole process, because they've seen their parents struggle. They've seen people following the rules and not getting ahead, on this hamster wheel. Struggling to pay bills. Nobody wants to work paycheck to paycheck. Nobody wants to be behind on life. But I was fortunate that I had these mentors come into my life early and started showing me that business was really my way out. Even though I had a drug problem and I was behind on life, they really showed me that there was another way, that if I took that same energy, the same negative energy I used to do bad, if I took that same energy and used it toward production, used it towards positivity, I could build something. I remember later on, I wrote a book with Les Brown, the great motivational speaker, Les Brown. Yeah. But early on, I was listening to his audio programs, and one time he said, jump and the net will appear. Well, I jumped and the net didn't show up. I bounced off the pavement like 15 times before that damn net ever showed up. But it was a process, man. I just stayed faithful to the process. I just kept pushing forward. And then, over a period of time, things started to happen for me.
Do you think, from what you know now, if you, back in, did it, give you a head start? The things you experienced, the negative experiences, the failures, did it, make you tougher? Or, because you hear that a lot, of course,
Yeah, when you're going through the stuff, when you're going through the fire, it's never, it doesn't feel good. It was very painful. But looking back, the things I was going through, I was growing through. It was making me better. It was preparing me, for the things I do today. The trials and the doors being shut in my face and the disrespect and being overlooked. Right. All that was really designed to thicken my skin, to get me ready to play at a much higher level. Now, I didn't realize it when I was going through it. I hated it. I was mad at society. I was mad at the world. I was mad at people. But I look back today and I realize all of that stuff was just, preparation for me to play a much bigger game. Mm-hmm. And, so for a lot of people, I tell them, look, if you're going through something, you don't stop. Like, I think that we have the tendency to, when things get tough, we kind of quit, we give in, we throw in the towel. My biggest thing is I just kept going. And when I had a mentor one time said, if you get stuck in the mud, don't stay there. Keep pushing through and you'll get out of it at some point. And that's what I did, man. It was all preparation for things that came in the future. I realized that things that I really wished for required me to go through things I didn't want to go through. Like, of course, I hear people talk a lot about how they want more money. And I realized that, at some point you're going to have to give up some money if you want to make some money. But some people don't want to give up the little bit that they have.
High risk, high reward.
To the little, and they never get a lot. If you want more time freedom, you may actually have to give up some of your time in the beginning to get more time freedom on the back end. So that's where people, they always want the return on the investment, but they don't want to put up the investment. And, I was fortunate. Right. I had great mentors that came in my life and taught me some of these principles early. So even though I was struggling and it was difficult, I just kept going. I didn't have for me, failure was not an option. It was, I was going to get to the top of the mountain, or you'd find me dead on the side of that mountain trying to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see a lot of guys like who were a bit older who like really got success just like you. Who actually like it's better. I don't know if that's true, but you see it a lot in guys like failures, like a difficult childhood gives them a head start later in life. It just, like I said, toughens them up, gives them experiences like it can be more bad than it is right now. So that's a super interesting observation.
Yeah, you can use your circumstances as an excuse not to be successful, or you can use it as the reason to be successful. I just turned it around. All of the things that were so negative in my life, I started to look at those as were stepping stones, or they became the reasons why I had to be successful. And then I'll tell you what, because I never had success back then and I never had money. So when I started really working, I was overcompensating. I was working so hard and so much that when things finally did start to hit, it came in pretty big, pretty fast.
Right.
Because I think some people just do the bare minimums to get by every day. And of course, that's never going to lead to greatness. Mm-hmm. But I wanted out of that neighborhood so bad. I wanted out of those circumstances so bad that I was grinding from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed every single day, trying to get a new life, trying to get a better life for me and my family.
Yeah, that scares me a little, actually. I come from a fairly normal, like middle class family. nothing special. It's a bit scary for me, but
No, listen, man, you got it, because it's always in the mind though, and you're smart. You're getting information from people that have come before you.
Right.
So that's very wise. I wish I would have had podcasts back when I was your age, man. I would have been on every podcast getting information. I mean, you're actually getting a chance to talk to people.
That's so dope.
Yeah, man. And you're going where they've already gone. So it can save you a ton of time. Mm-hmm. You'll cut down the pain and the agony, and you'll never have to work as hard as I did, because you'll have people showing you the shortcuts. I mean, that's a
positive thing. Yeah, it's so easy. Like all the information that's out there these days, it's awesome, especially for young entrepreneurs. It's super cool.
Look, man, I believe in the young entrepreneur. Of course, we've got the Build Your Empire brand that's growing like crazy, and we've got about 1.5 million followers on Instagram. But we made an 18-year-old the CEO of our Build Your Empire.
Yeah,
brand,
Casey.
Yeah, because I just believe. I believe in you guys. I believe in you guys were born with smartphones in your hands. You've got technology that will fuel growth and development and contribution, and all the things that our society needs will come from you guys in the future. So I'm stoked, man. I'm happy to contribute in any way that I can.
I really appreciate that. So yeah, let's get right into the main part of it. Like, you're big on mentorship. I saw you talk on Instagram a lot on mentorship, other podcasts. Tell me, where's this coming from? Like, why is it such a big thing for you?
Well, look, it's a couple of things. When I was coming up and I was not doing so well in life, and I was in trouble a lot. It was the only thing that really changed for me was I had some mentors that came in my life early. Now, these weren't big, multi-millionaire people. These were just people that saw more in me than I saw in myself.
Yeah.
Because I had a hard time seeing me being anybody. I thought I was a loser. I thought I was a reject, a dropout, a criminal, a drug addict, all the things that society had already labeled me of. And I really wore that well. I really believed that that's what I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until somebody else saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And so sometimes we need other people to say, look, no, you're not that. It took a mentor to tell me, because I look, my sister, when she was 21 years old, she died from a heroin overdose.
Yeah.
My brother, who's 2 years younger than me, has been a heroin addict for the last 2 decades. I mean, it's amazing. We're still shocked that he's even still alive today. He doesn't have teeth. He's, it's crazy to me. But the difference between me and my brother and my sister is when I was locked up in these facilities, I had some people that came into my life and really poured into me early on. And they gave me some books. They gave me ideas. They planted seeds that helped me to grow. They helped me to change the way I was thinking, which, again, it took a while. I was half in the hood and half out on a regular basis. I was half in trouble and half out. I had one foot in all the time. But over a period of time, I started to push a lot of that negativity out of my life. And it came because of mentors. I once had a mentor tell me, he started talking about business. I'm like, man, I'm not a businessman. I'm never going to be a businessman.
All right.
And he said, look, he told me I could teach anybody business skills. I can give you a book and I could teach you business skills easily, but I can't teach everybody street smarts. He says, so he started to tell me I had an advantage. Well, I don't know if he thought that was true or not, but he got me to believe it. And eventually I started to believe it. I had an advantage out there. And I just started going after it, man. I just started, I stopped caring what other people thought about me and what the labels they put on me. And I just went out and made it happen, bro. It was, again, it was still painful. I don't want anyone to think that it just happened overnight. But,
No, yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Like from a person who's actually like in a position to mentor people, what do you think is like how do you be mentorable? How do you be a good mentee? Because I see a lot of guys like, I can't find someone who's willing to help me, that kind of shit. How do you see a good person to mentor? Who do you accept in your like inner circle?
Well, that's interesting, because I remember my early mentors, were like some, in my case, it was some drug counselors and some people that were forced to be in my life because of the bad decisions I made. But from there, it became books. These authors of books became my mentors, even though I never talked to them. A lot of people don't realize that I had amazing mentors that I never met, that I never talked to, but they were in the books I was reading.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the audios that I was listening to. And they were in the events that I was attending. But eventually, because I was starting to become a little sharper, because I was getting that information, I would try to go anywhere where I thought or I knew that somebody had something that I wanted. A better lifestyle, better spiritual walk, better whatever. I would go and get in those circles, and I would just sit in the background, or I would try to weasel my way up front to be as close as I could, just to kind of listen to conversations or be around those people. And so being a good mentoree, eventually I got invited into circles, because what happens a lot of times for mentors and mentorees, the person that's being mentored,
mm-hmm.
a mentor will sometimes tell you things you don't want to hear. And
sure.
I quickly lose interest in mentoring somebody who won't, they pick and choose what advice they want to hear. So I'll ask people sometimes,
mm-hmm.
when they ask me questions, I'll say, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? Or do you want me to tell you what you actually need to grow?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's two different things.
Right.
And today, younger people tend to be a little more fragile today than we were.
We have a snowflake generation for sure. That's a sure thing. But that's another thought.
Sometimes you don't want to hear the truth,
But it's true. We're getting kind of soft. Yeah.
Well, I think the best way to find a good mentor is see what you can do to serve that mentor. See if there's something you can do to contribute to them. I get people that hit me up every day asking to be mentored. And look, my time is just like your time is very valuable. My time is valuable as well. It's hard for me to mentor everybody that wants to be mentored. You know, but if someone's going to come into my life and bring some type of value, then I will return value for value.
Damn right. That's how it is. But yeah, like you said, books are also a big one. If you can't like in person find someone, books will give you just a head start over your buddy. So that's a big thing.
Oh, look, I'll tell you why I teach a lot of the young people now that are connected to Build Your Empire. You guys don't have any competition really, because how hard is it to win a race when nobody's even trying to run? I mean,
right.
If you guys just making a decision to stand out from the crowd puts you ahead of 99% of the people. You know, most of the time people want to smoke weed and play Xbox all day long. All you got to do is during that same time, pick up a good book. You start to separate yourself. Les Brown one time said, you know, once your mind expands, it can never go back to its original dimensions. So just by being on something like this, doing these podcasts, your mind is expanding beyond what maybe one of your peers, they're not getting the same information. So therefore, if information truly is power, you're becoming more powerful every time you do something like this. Every time you read a book, every time you get, you know, someone on a call like this, every time you ask questions, every time you do something, you know, for me, it was the books I read, the people I associated with, and the seminars that I attended. That's where the big separation came from. Huge separation, because my friends weren't doing it. My friends chose not to do it. It was corny, it was time consuming, it was boring, or whatever. They just chose not to do it. But
until the point
they're still living.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're still living the same life, you know. So.
Yeah, and then they all of a sudden want to be your friend. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. They don't support you when you're going through the stuff, but once you've made it, they all show up and their hands look like cups, you know, like.
right. That's dope. All right, so I want to talk a little business here, right? You're the CEO of a few of your companies. So like leadership, like what are important traits of a good leader, a good manager? How do you do that? How do you run your people the right way so they feel motivated, they feel like they are part of something bigger than they themselves?
You know, I think there's a lot of components, and you hit on a great topic. A lot of people, it's amazing to me. I get on these calls, and very seldom do I get asked about leadership, and everything rises and falls on leadership. This is
right.
A critical component that most people overlook, because today we have so many influencers on Instagram. They're not necessarily they don't necessarily have leadership skills, but they're charismatic. There's a big difference. I learned a long time ago, charisma will get you in the door. Charisma can get you a lot of followers on Instagram, but it's character, and it's leadership that will keep you going. It'll give you long-term success. Because for some of the Instagram influencers, if Instagram died tomorrow, if it was over, these guys would be devastated. But there would be nothing left for them. You know what I'm saying?
Still waiting for the day. Seriously,
no, it happens all the time. Everything runs in cycles. But I'll give you 4 basic elements. There's lots of leadership, so we won't have time to go into all of it. But let me give you 4 basic elements of leadership that are really the foundations for me.
I'm taking notes.
In my business. So the first one is simple. It's intensity. You know, great leaders have a passion. They have a drive. They have an energy about them. Have you ever been on maybe a podcast with somebody, or been at an event, or been speaking with someone? And sometimes it's not even what they say, but it's what you feel from what they say. Like
the vibe,
Yeah, you feel the vibe, the energy. It's contagious. So there's an intensity that's critical for leadership, because you've got to get people to vibe with you. You got to get people, you know, the last organization that I led before I sold it, you know, we had 323,000 distributors in 8 countries.
Jesus.
You know, that requires a different level of leadership, but you've got to be intense, man. They got to know that you're the first one. You got the energy to lead. You got the intensity. You got the passion, the drive to do it. The second piece, the second really basic element is competence. Now, a lot of people think that you have to be great to start. I just say you've got to start to be great. You don't have to know everything. Like there's so much I don't know, but you just have to be competent enough to be able to get the job done, to be able to get the fundamentals out of the way, because then you can recruit or you can hire your weaknesses. Where I'm not competent, I've gotten really good at look, I'm incompetent in a lot of areas, but I know where I am competent. And what I do is I find people where I'm weak. I find my strengths. I find people that are strong in the areas where I'm weak. Because if I focus all my energy trying to get strong in all these areas, I'm never going to execute. I'm never going to get to where I should go. So I focused on where I was strong, where I had some competence, and I just built upon that. And then from there, I found people that were competent in the other areas where I was not. So that's number 2. So number 1, intensity. Number 2 is competence. Number 3 is philosophy. Is your philosophy, your thinking, is it about you or is it about your organization? Is it about you, just you specifically? Is it me or is it about me and my team? If your philosophy is about your team, you're going to go much farther. If your philosophy is about other people, you're going to go much farther.
Right.
If you even take retail, if people are leading a retail organization, I see a lot of guys doing retail, whether it's, Shopify stores, e-commerce, things like that. Their philosophy is all about how much money they can make. They're not thinking about the value they can bring to their customers, and that's why their shops suck and they don't make any money.
Right.
Because their philosophy is wrong. They got to develop a leadership philosophy. Even if they don't have a team, they have to develop a philosophy early on about the end user.
It's about something bigger than yourself. It's about building something that lasts like past the person, the physical person you are. Yeah, that's right.
It's critical. And then the final thing, the basic elements is activity, because the reason great leaders understand that they control their activity. So I control, like when I wake up tomorrow morning, the one thing I have for sure control over is what actions I will take.
Right.
Now I could do nothing. I could piss the day away, or I could, pick up the phone. I could make some calls. I could reach out to people. I could engage with people. I could do, move my brand forward, move my product forward, move my education forward. And sometimes I teach my daughter. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and we have this ritual that we do every day when I'm taking her to school.
Yeah, I saw the video. Yeah, dope. That's super cool.
I always ask her, I ask her what kind of day she's going to have, and she always says it's going to be a great day. And then I ask her why, and she tells me because she's going to make it a great day, and it's about karma. And then I ask her before she gets out of the car, it's always, what are the 2 things you have total control of today? And she always says, my actions and my attitude.
Yeah, but the advantage she's going to have later in life with that mindset, that's big. That's big.
I wish somebody would have been telling me this stuff, because you know what? I didn't realize that I had control over my attitude. My emotions were so out of control when I was young, and I blamed the weather, I blamed the police, I blamed the teachers, my parents, everybody. My attitude was bad, not because of me, because of you, because of everybody around me.
Right.
And I learned later on, of course, through mentors, that I was completely wrong, that my attitude and my actions were 100% controlled by me. And I was the one messing up.
It is, in fact, yeah. It's interesting. It's super interesting. All right, so like we're getting a little off track. We're talking leadership. No, it's dope. The people, like there are a few people listening who don't want to be entrepreneurs. I don't know why you wouldn't want to be an entrepreneur in this era, but there are. What do you like the same with mentees? What do you look for in a good employee? What's like, the best version of yourself? How do you contribute to the bigger picture? How do you put yourself out there that way?
It's real simple. For me to mentor someone, for me, when I'm bringing someone into my organization, I'm looking for 3 things. Number 1, burning desire. I want somebody that has a white hot desire for change, for something bigger, something better. I'm not looking for the person who's just floating around and just comfortable. And I want someone who's like ready to get uncomfortable, make some shit happen, go. So burning desire, willing to work, because it still takes work, and that's where, we lose a lot of people when I start to tell them that, this is going to require some work as well. You have to work here too. Yeah. And then here's the big one. And by the way, they have to have all 3 of these characteristics or I don't mess with them. Burning desire, willing to work. And the final one is humble. The definition of humble is coachable, teachable. People that are not humble are not teachable. You will not work in my organization if your ego is so big that you already know everything. And unfortunately, today we have influencers. I've seen them teach people that you shouldn't be humble, that you should.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts to no end. I think it's a huge mistake, because you won't be able to thrive in a team environment if your ego is out of control.
Mm-hmm.
I have it tattooed on my hand. Ego is the enemy. I look at this every day to remind myself, because when I first started making money when I was young, and it wasn't much. I made like $15,000 one month, and I thought I made it. I thought I was a big baller, shot caller. You couldn't talk to me. And I had a mentor that said, "Look, man, your ego's out of control." He said, "You forgot where you came from, and if you don't get your ego in check, you're going to end up right back where you started." And I was like, "Okay, that's all I need to hear. Let me humble myself and realize that the money doesn't make me. I make the money.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make me better or whatever. Because some people, they get a little money and they go buy their Lamborghini and you can't talk to them anymore. Mm-hmm. They're the deal, and they think they are, and they walk like it. But here's what happens: nobody really likes them. They're around them because they got a Lamborghini, they got all this stuff. They seem like they know what they're doing. So people show up to try to suck from them. They maybe get the energy or see if they get some scraps. Yeah. But nobody really likes that person. Nobody likes an egotistical maniac.
It's right. It's damn right. Yeah, I don't know. Even the guys, like, we're not in a position to be so braggy about their shit, are still these days. I don't know what it is. It's yeah. So
in Texas, in Texas, they call it big hat, no cattle. Mm. They people that have they got nothing. They got rims on their car, and they think they're the biggest, baddest things ever. They haven't accomplished anything, but you can't tell them anything. I don't get it. But
I was in a conversation last week. Was in a conversation with a guy last week who was like that, and asked him, like, when was the last time you read a book? And he just like, what the fuck is a book? And I'm like, yeah, fuck you then. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
All right, another big topic. You built your empire, 1.5 million followers. Your personal page, 1.13 last time I checked. Putting yourself out there, personal branding, the whole Instagram, social media space. Why is it so important to get on that?
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with social media.
Same.
It has become. I hate it because it has become necessary. If you're going to be in business today, you've got to be on some social platforms. Period. You've got to be engaged in social, especially to deal with you guys, to deal with the younger, because you guys look at the social media pages before you decide, if you're going to contact these people, if you're going to do business with them. It's a different deal. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like if I had 20 followers, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Yeah, I would, but
well, I mean, it's
I get your point.
There's something about building social credibility, but more important than that, because you've got really three pieces to social media. You got the growth part of it, where you're growing your social media. Mm-hmm. You've got the content part of it, and this is where I get the hate relationship with, because I got to continue to create content or have content that's relevant and meaningful for people to stay engaged, because people have such short attention spans. But I only create that content so I can get to the third piece, which is the engagement. And the engagement is where, potentially I can monetize that following, where I can turn that following into loyal customers or people I do business with, or you know what I mean?
Whatever, yeah.
So it really has become a necessity if you're going to do something. And I get more people now in their 40s and 50s that are hitting me up saying, "Listen, man, teach me, show me how to do this thing." Because they feel like they missed it. They feel like you guys, you young guys, have taken control over it now own it. And I'm just saying, I tell them, look, this isn't complex, but it does take a commitment. There is a commitment level that has to be, put into it. And you got to decide who you really are, and then be authentic, because too many people are trying to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
And we can see through that.
Yeah, that was a question. Like, how do you present yourself in a way that you're, like, I can post with stacks of money right now and go drive cars, I don't know. But the real ones, like, don't really appreciate that. How do you put yourself out there, like, as a humble person, as a person who's, like, I don't know, someone who's in a position to you want to do business with, let's say that.
Yeah, here's my number one training technique to all the people I lead, to the organizations that I'm a part of, my number one training technique is called the truth. Mm-hmm. So what I teach our team to do, and I teach our affiliates to do, is always fall back on the truth. Number one, the truth is easy to remember. The truth vibrates faster. It moves much faster. You can get the truth duplicating and scaling quicker. People appreciate the truth. And like for me, the reason why I put my drug problems, my dropout, my criminal history, I always lead with that, because you're going to find out anyways. So I'd rather just get it out there. If you don't,
and it like gives you character. It gives you like to be relatable with like a person instead of like a page. And
it's funny. I'll tell you what. There's some people that don't want to do business with me because of that. They don't want to do business with me because of my past, 20 years ago, which is ridiculous to me. You're still stuck on what I did 20 years ago. Come on.
I don't know. All right. So like a quick little one, like tips for building an audience, because you're way bigger than most of the guys listening right now on your Instagram. Few quick ones.
Here's what I would tell you. Figure out what your niche is. What I see so often is that people get on social media and they look around, they see where other people are booming, and then they try to be like that other person. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing I can tell you, look, if you are into birds, like if you love birds and you know birds like crazy, make your content about birds. If you play the guitar and you're like passionate about the guitar or music, then your page should be, 90% about music and I see people, I don't care what it is. I had a friend of mine who's got 12 kids, and he told me, he said he wants to build Instagram. He's my age. Mm-hmm. He wants to build Instagram. He only has 1,000. Matter of fact, I think he had 500 followers. But I don't have anything. I said, bro, listen, you have 12 kids. You know how to stretch a tube of toothpaste. You know how to stretch money. You know how to feed a family of 12 mm-hmm. and keep that house happy. Start making content around what it's like to be in a house with 12 kids. And now he's doing that, and you're seeing his numbers are ticking up. There's a lot of other people. I know who have 2 kids that can't make it work. So figure out what your niche is, and then drive good content around that. I think sometimes though we go right into trying to pitch people on stuff or sell people stuff. Mm-hmm. For me, you very seldom see me pitching anything. I'm constantly just trying to give, and then if people like what they see, they reach out to me, and then we can talk business.
Right. That's a big one. This is like, for the people listening, this is a major one. I'm actually I'm in a position right now to not. I can't show you the big numbers right now, but I can show you the progress I'm making. You got to stay true to yourself, true to the person you are, and that way you're building your audience. That's a big one. Cool.
Progress is the key, man. You hit it on the head. And the challenge is when you're young, it's hard to tell the difference between you. How old are you?
I'm 15.
It's crazy. I love it. All right, so take another 15-year-old. You and another 15-year-old. You look the same. But you're doing podcasts, you're reading, you're developing yourself, but the other 15-year-old is not. Right now, you look about the same, but give that 5 years. And let me tell you in 5 years, I can tell you where you're going to be compared to where the other 15-year-old is going to be. The other 15-year-old is going to be struggling, making excuses, working paycheck to paycheck, where you, because you're doing these simple disciplines every single day, in 5 years, you are a completely different person.
Appreciate you saying that, man.
Over for you. Look at Casey Adams. Look at the CEO of Build Your Empire. He's 18 right now. He's in New York speaking at some event in New York City. Mm-hmm. Every time I turn around, he's on some airplane, either partying with rap stars or speaking at some major event. And I mean, the kid is blowing up, man. He's 18 years old. Where do you think he's going to be in 5 years?
Yeah, times have changed. It's crazy.
Yeah, times have changed, man.
It's crazy. All right. So last few little things. I appreciate your time. Money management. You're getting some money. You're starting your store or whatever. A lot of guys doing that these days. You're getting some money. When do I start buying those luxuries? I see a lot of guys with making $1,000 and spending $1,000 on shoes. When I'm in a position to do that?
This is a tough question, because if I tell you what I did,
mm-hmm.
it's not what I would recommend you do. Because I did like everybody else did. I got money. I bought cars. I bought all kinds of stuff, watches and bling bling. And, and then when I was old enough to go to the clubs, it was bottle service. And I was throwing money around like crazy.
But if you could go back, how would you do it? Yeah.
It was a big mistake. I would look, here's what I do now. It's real simple. For every dollar that I make, 10% right off the top goes to, my faith. I have my beliefs. I take 10% right off the top and I give it to my church.
That's
awesome. I have another 10%. That 10% is what I call pay yourself first. You've probably heard this stuff before. That the other 10% of that dollar goes right into a savings account that I have. That, it's there, but it always comes out.
Right.
I have another 10% that goes into an investment account. Now, this is an account for down the road. I see a lot of people that get opportunities come in front of them, but they can't do anything with it because they have no money.
Right.
So, I've got a company that's
liquidity. Yeah.
No liquidity, man. I've got 2 companies about to go public on the NASDAQ stock exchange here in the U.S.
Awesome.
And it took money to play at that level. And that money is going to turn into millions and millions and millions of dollars for me. But it was partly because I had the disciplines of putting money aside for investment, specifically earmarked for investments. And a lot of people don't do that. And then I have another 10%, that I put aside for, I've got kids that always need stuff. So
sure.
It's kind of that another, but then the rest of it, I live on and that's kind of my deal. But I would tell people, man, start getting some discipline and taking a percentage of that income and putting it away. And if you can keep increasing those percentages, I could, I got to a point where I could live on 30% of my income, without a challenge.
That's cool.
But then I get out of whack too. Sometimes, things change and then I want to buy something and I'll go buy something. Because the thing is, you buy a car, let's say you buy $100,000 car, the day you drive up the lot, it's lost, a big part of that value. So it's a depreciating asset unless you're going to rent it out.
Yeah. Last thing I got to ask you this, like you're in a position. Does it really feel like what I think it feels like to step in your rolls every morning and put on that rollie or?
It's a good life, man. I have a good life. I'm very blessed, and it wasn't always like this. So I do know, and I don't take for granted, the life I live. I have freedom that most people will only be able to dream about. I have relationships that are amazing, and I don't have to stress about the things I used to have to stress about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's I'll put it to you this way. The rewards for being willing to sacrifice today, the rewards that will come later on are far, 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 they far outweigh the sacrifice you have to make. Like people get hung up on these things they have to do. Look, if you just go and do it, and you just buckle in and make it happen, and 5 years from now, you don't even remember what those things were, what those sacrifices were. But your life is going to be magical. Your life is going to be ridiculous. And right now, when you're going through it, the sacrifice sucks. The stuff you got to do is a grind and it's a pain and there's not a lot of money. But
I like it actually, the pain. It feels good. Yeah.
I'm glad you embrace that, man. That's the attitude to have. Embrace that because that's what's growing you. That's what's taking you to the next level.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, I love this, man. Thank you so much for this. That's all I have for you today. I love it, man.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. I got a ton of other commitments to get to, but anytime I can help, I'm here, and I'm glad that I could contribute. And hopefully, this helps some other people. Hopefully, it helps you.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to find me, they can find me on Instagram at john.malott, JOHN.MAL, 1L, OTT, 2 T's. or at Build Your Empire.
Or at Build Your Empire.
Find me anyhow.
Right.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for this. Like, enjoy your day. For the guys listening, like I said, follow him on Instagram. Tune in next week. Love it, man. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Thank you, man. Stay in touch.
All right. I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.